Our next stitch is going to be velvet stitch, and I don't know if you can see this, but I've used it in my little elephant scissor keeper here. It makes a sort of fluffy effect because you do little stitches and then cut the threads afterwards. It's easier to see in these tufts of grass here, so that feels furry to the touch on top. There is another similar stitch which is called turkey rug stitch, and you may have come across that. We may cover that as well. Personally, I find this one easier to do, so we're going to do that one first. Before I show you the stitch on the actual wheel, I want to show you the stitch on this grid here. It's helpful to think of the stitch in squares, and I thought if I show it you larger you can see how it's made up. We're going to work rows from the bottom upwards, and you'll see why in a second. So if you're right-handed, start in the bottom left-hand corner and take a stitch up to the right-hand corner, and then come up again where you started or just next to, and take another stitch down, but don't pull your thread all the way through. So you're going to leave a little loop like that. It doesn't need to be a massive one, just a little one like that. And then take your thread from the bottom right to the top left to hold it down, to hold that loop down. And then you're going to go back to the bottom left of the next square, take a stitch across, and then another one, but this time make a loop, and then go from the bottom right to the top left. So again, bottom left, top right, leave the loop. Don't worry if your loops are a different length, that doesn't matter. They just need to be long enough that you can get a pair of scissors on them. And then we would complete the final one before starting again. Well, you can go either way, actually. You could go this way, but I would start again here and do another row. And you can see because the loops lie on the bottom, it's easier to work from the bottom up. So let's just finish that row. Now I want to just show left-handers on the top of this grid here, just so that you know the stitch, and then I'll show you on the wheel. Left-handers will also start at the bottom, so I've turned it round so that you can see, and I'm using a different colour for left-handers. So you're going to start at the bottom right-hand corner and go up to the top left, and then again and down, but don't pull it all the way through. Leave a loop, and then we're going to go from the bottom left to the top right, and then back up where we started. So I'll do that once more, getting some fluff from the other colour here, but never mind. So take a stitch down, come up down into the top left, and then bottom left to top right, and carry on like that. My loops are a little bit big here, but it doesn't really matter. You just waste thread if you have them too big. These are about the right size. I've drawn a square on my wheel, but off centre, so it looks like a diamond. And I'm using now a thinner silk, so I hope you'll be able to see a little bit better. I've drawn a grid with as many squares as I can fit in. The more the better, because it'll be fluffier and it'll just look better afterwards. So I'm now coming up on the left. So this is the bottom of my square. It depends which way you're looking at it, but this is the bottom of my square. So I'm coming up on the left. If you're left-handed, you'll come up on the right, and the bottom left of that first square, and taking a stitch, and then taking another stitch in the same direction, same place, but don't pull your thread all the way through. So leave a little loop like that, and then go from the bottom to the top. So the stitches always go from the bottom. So start again on the next square, do your 2 stitches, and leave a loop. And it doesn't matter if your loops are different lengths, don't worry about that, as long as they're big enough to cut. So don't leave vast amounts, because you'll just waste thread. So that's just about right. So pack as many squares in as you can. My lines are just for guidance. If you can get more in, do. I hope you can see that. So your needle always goes from the bottom. And that final stitch there is just to hold your loops in place. I want to just finish this line. So again, this is why you're working from the bottom upwards, because the loops lie down. So bottom left, top right, bottom left to top right again, don't pull through, and then bottom right to top left, and then one final one. And now I'm going to run my thread across the back and start again here. So just do my stitches as I did with the previous row. So you might ask, why didn't we go from up here and go that way? Well, you could do if you wanted, but I think with this very small piece of work, the loops naturally lie in this direction, so they don't get in your way if you go from left to right. So we're going to go that way. I'm going to complete this grid now, and then we are going to cut the loops. So that feels like the scary bit, but it's fine. So I will see you later. I've completed my grid with all my little loops here, and now I'm going to cut them off. Please don't worry about this. All you need is a pair of sharp embroidery scissors, and you can just start. You don't have to cut them all at once. Just cut a few off and then see what it looks like. I once had a lady who liked the look of the loops and decided she couldn't bear to cut them, so if your loops are particularly neat, that might apply to you, but it's meant to be cut. The main thing with this is that you need to pack as many stitches in as you possibly can. I think I drew 36 squares, but I actually packed more stitches in, so please just don't follow the number of squares, just pack as many in as you can. So now if you look at it sort of across the shape, you can see which bits still need cutting. It's quite hard to get it right. Keep sort of fluffing it up like that. I'm trying to remove all the bits of fluff so you can see what it looks like. So you keep sort of fluffing it up. I'm going to cut a bit more off. This fluff is going everywhere. Don't wear dark coloured clothes. I've just got it all over me. But never mind. Okay, I'm just going to tidy that up off camera because I can't get it to the right angle to have a proper look. And I'll show you the finished effect. But I think you can see how it sort of looks. This is my little bit of fluff completed. I hope you're pleased with yours. The main thing, as I say, is do them as small as you possibly can. This stitch also works really well with wool. We're going to do some more weaving next, and we're going to do some roses.